Welcome to a new video in my home automation series, and today it's time to review another Sonoff product, and this is the B02FA60. And it is very similar to the bulb that I've just reviewed, I think, in my previous video. The difference is that it is a slightly different design. As you can see, it has these filament LED, probably I should call strips in it. But other than that, I think it's going to be a very similar product to the other bulb. Of course, it is visually different. So if you are after this sort of different look, and when your light fitting allows you to, actually see the light bulb. So it could be more stylish if you pick something like this as opposed to a more utilitarian look as the other Sonoff light bulb. Other than that, if I can remember the specs, it is pretty much the same one. So this is 9 watts, just like the previous. Oh no, actually this is rated for 7 watts. But in terms of the lumen, it is actually very similar because both of the lamps are rated for 806 lumens. Maybe because of the clear glass, there is not so much obstruction. I'm not sure if it's actually glass or plastic, but there is this clear casing, and you can clearly see that there are 4 filaments inside, and 2 of them appear to be an orange color, and the other 2 are more like a yellow. So without even, I've already tested this, so I actually know. So 2 of the filaments are for the warm light, and 2 of the filaments are for the cool light. By varying the percentage of these 2 strips, or these 2 different strips, this light bulb can simulate color temperature between 2700 Kelvin, which is like a very warm candle-like color, all the way to 6500 Kelvin, which is almost like a little bit bluish cool light. And of course, normal daylight somewhere in between. And of course, this comes with the EV-Link app, so you would be able to control this device from your smartphone as well, and you can set the brightness and the color temperature of this light bulb. I have to say, I'm really, pleased with the overall look, and I was actually surprised that IT managed to shrink all the electronics down into the cap. So it's basically here. You can hardly see I can see the PCB board, but it's really, really tiny. I thought this would probably come all the way up here, but no, it's, everything is down inside. Probably you can see some of the components down inside. It's probably quite I don't know, maybe an engineering marvel to get all this down to that miniature size. And I'm not sure if I mentioned it in the previous video, but this light bulb is rated between 220 and 240 volts. So this is not suitable for the US market. I have 2 criticisms against this light bulb. Well, actually not against this particular model. It applies to the other light bulb as well. First of all, when you apply power to this light bulb, it will automatically come on. And in the settings, there is no option to define the power on state. And when you think about it for the first time, it might not be a big issue. But actually, if you are planning to have these, quite a few of these light bulbs around your house, and if there is a power outage and once the power comes back, all these lights are going to come on. To one extent, it could be a good indication that, maybe you are in a dark house and the power comes back and your lights come on. But what happens if you have a power outage in the middle of the night? And then, once the power comes back at, say, like 3 a.m. and your house is going to, light up in, let's say, almost in full brightness. I'm not sure why it is not added. This feature is available on all other Sonoff devices. I'm pretty sure this would be capable of doing that. Maybe this is something which is coming in the future. And the other thing that I found is, I don't know, maybe intentionally or not, we are going to see that within the scenes, it is not possible to control the brightness or the color temperature of the light. So if you want to change that, you actually have to manually change that. If you are setting up any automation, you can turn the light on, which is going to come on to the brightness settings and the color temperature it was set to the last time. So it is not possible to set up some advanced routines with this lamp, but it is actually possible to do it in IFTTT, which nowadays, if you want to use with the EV-Link app, you have to upgrade to a premium account. Maybe this is just EV-Link trying to persuade people to move to a premium account, so they get some additional money by you, subscribing for a yearly fee. But again, it could be something which they might add to the regular scenes in the future. And just before we look at the feature, I just want to do sort of an unboxing. The bulb comes in this box. You see all the specs and the main features. Well, you see the specs on the back side. And it also comes in this case, clear case, just to make sure that the bulb is not damaged in transit, and mine wasn't either, so I think it's a fairly sturdy packaging. And you are getting this small multi-language leaflet which tells you how you set up the lamp and then how you add it to the EV-Link. But if you have set up other Sonoff device, this is going to be exactly the same, so there is not going to be anything different. When you power the device up for the first time, it will automatically go into pairing mode, and that's indicated by this breathing pattern where the lamp fades in and out continuously. And within that period, you can pair it with the EV-Link application, and after 5 minutes it's going to exit pairing, but you can get into pairing mode again if you power cycle the device a couple of times. So you have to plug it into a socket or something which has a manual switch, and then you're just going to switch it on off, I think 5 times, and then it goes back to the breathing mode. So yeah, nothing special. I mean, it is actually a similar process that we have seen with other lamps, not even EV-Link, but other makers as well. They are using the same procedure. As I said, I've done the pairing already, and you can see the device appearing on my list of devices in the EV-Link. And as you can see, you get a small button here, so you can operate the light even from the device list screen. And if you go into the screen, then you can see the actual device. And just like with the other bulb, you have this big face here in the middle where you can turn the device on and off. And once you've turned on the device, you can change the color temperature. So that's the slider here. As you can see, as I'm moving towards the white light, the 2 of the white LEDs light up and the other 2 are not used. And then if I move over, you can see that the warm LEDs start to light up. And actually, if you see, as I start to blend the color temperature, actually it fades one of the LEDs as the other LED comes in. I thought maybe if I move it to the middle, then all the LED filaments are going to be lit at the same time, so it will produce more light. But actually they try to keep it on the same output, so that actually it tries to emit the same amount of light as you change the color temperature. But you can see how the 2 different filaments vary from one to another. And as you can see, I'm only 5% brightness at the moment, because otherwise it's going to get too bright for the camera. It is stated that it is a 7-watt LED. I have, similar LEDs around my house, and it definitely behaves as a 7-watt LED. So it is, fairly powerful. If I move it all the way to 100%, as you can see that, my environment is completely saturated. And this is definitely a very bright and a decent LED bulb. Let me just move it back to 5 or 6% for the time being. Okay, so let's quickly go through the basic settings. First, on the lower left, we have schedule, and here you can specify different schedules when you want this light bulb to turn on and off. And within the schedule, you specify the hour and the minute. You can also set which day of the week and whether at that point the device should turn on and off. Again, as I said, you are not specifying how the device turns on, what brightness or what color temperature. It's just going to remember the last used settings, and it will come on to that setting. And if you want to change that, you have to come to the screen manually. So you can have multiple of these schedules. The other feature is the timer, and this is the manual off timer. So let's say I have turned the lamp on, and I know I want to turn this lamp on after 30 minutes. So I set the timer to 30 minutes and the action to off, and I save it. So that means that after half an hour, this lamp is going to turn off. And if you want to turn it off next time as well, you always have to come here and set up the timer. So this is like a one-time thing. And as you can see, there is like an indication that the timer is active now. And the last option we have is the scenes. And there are 4 predefined scenes for this light bulb. You can't create your own at the moment. So there is a bright, which is, as you can see, 100% brightness and a cool white light. And you have a reading, which is 50% and warm. And you have a work, which is 20% and again cool, and the night, which is 5% and warm as well. So these are just basically presets that you can quickly jump to from the scenes menu. And actually that's pretty much it what you get here on the screen. Let's go into the settings and see what options available there. So I click on the 3 dots, And as you can see, we can change the name of the device. We can upgrade the firmware, which actually I've already done. I think it was shipped with 1.3.0. You can change the location, so you can just put it into a different room of your house. You can share the device between different EV-Link users. You can create the group, and it's actually quite nice because the various bulbs are going to appear here, so you can just group them together. So if you have a room where you have multiple lights, or if you have a chandelier with multiple of these LED bulbs, you can just group them together and they will be controlled together at the same time. And that's pretty much it. So the rest of the information is just, device info. And as I said, there is no option here to set up the power on state, so it will always come on. I have a switch which is connected to this light bulb, so if I kill the light, let's assume that this is like a power outage, and then when the power comes back, the light bulb will come back on as well. And by the way, if you haven't noticed, when you turn the light on and off, there is a small fade in and a fade out effect. Because I have it set at a very low brightness, you can't see much, but if I increase the brightness and if I turn it off, you can see it slowly fades out. At the end it cuts off, but still there is a fading effect, and it's not an immediate change of brightness. It looks a little bit better when you turn it on. Okay, so let me move it back to 6%. So the last thing that we have left to check is what is available in scenes, what this device supports in terms of triggers and actions. So I'm just going to create a new scene. Let's look at the triggers first. So I click on Add, Smart Device, B02 filament, and as you can see, you can create an automation when this device gets turned on or turned off. If I go back and look at the actions, again, Smart Device, B02 filament, and again, you just have one option, which is on and off. So this is what I said earlier in the video, that there is no option for you to create an action or even a trigger to when the brightness changes, or set the brightness using the scenes. So if you want to change any of these, then you have to go back manually to the device settings and then you change there. And as I mentioned, there are a few things that you can do in the IFTTT integration. So, and I think that's going to be interesting. So I'm definitely planning to make a special video of how you can use multiple of these devices together. What are the different options that you have either in the EV-Link app or with IFTTT integration if you upgrade to an advanced account. So that would be my review of this B02 filament light bulb. I'm actually quite happy with this because this is a very good and bright sort of like generic LED light bulb. And because you have this various different form factors, you can choose the one which best suits for your application. If you want to see the filaments, or if you want a more generic light, you can just go for the other light bulb. And actually there are a few different light bulbs in the range, so you have a few more options than just these two. If you are interested in this product, there are affiliated links in the video description. But that will be all for today. Thanks for watching, and hopefully see you in the next video.